Welcome, I'm Tom Turner for the Beach Employees Flying Club. This will be an online presentation of the makeup session that was canceled because of the tornado warnings on May 10th. There'll be a short quiz that will be emailed that will be your way of demonstrating you have listened to this program and have satisfied the board's requirement for a safety stand down to be able to continue flying privileges in the Beach Employees Flying Club. I do want to apologize for the somewhat unpolished nature of this presentation. I wanted to get it online as quickly as possible so nobody had any delay in being able to rent an aircraft in the club. The topic for today's presentation is the almost easy manual landing gear extension procedure. The first step of a successful manual landing gear extension is to verify that you'll be able to do so in the first place. During your pre-flight inspection, every time you get into an A36 Bonanza, check to see that the manual landing gear extension hand cranked is both stowed and accessible. By stowed, I mean folded over so that the tangs within the gear extension unit are retracted, and when the electric landing gear motor rotates, it does not rotate the manual extension handle as well. There have been a number of cases where purse straps, baggage straps, debris, or papers in the manual gear extension hand crank area have snagged the handle and restricted its movement if it's been engaged and the landing gear motor runs. This can strip out the unit internally and prevent you from being able to do a manual gear extension if you should have to. By accessible, I mean that the manual landing gear extension hand crank is where you can get to it if you should need it. It's apparently quite easy to be able to reinstall the plastic spar cover so that it covers up the manual gear extension hand crank when it's in the stowed position. And this is a very thick, heavy plastic. It would be virtually impossible to work the handle out from under it in flight. So when you do your pre-flight inspection, verify that the manual landing gear extension handle is stowed so it won't get damaged when you run the gear electrically, and it's accessible so that you'll be able to get to it should you need it. If you find an airplane with the manual landing gear extension handle covered by the black plastic spar cover, in my opinion, the airplane should be grounded until it can be addressed. Okay, you're in flight and you extend the landing gear, and for whatever reason, the landing gear will not go down. You don't get the 3 green indications. Perhaps the red in transit light is still illuminated. What do? The first thing you should do is to check the landing gear motor circuit breaker, which in the 1984 and later Bonanzas is in the upper right-hand corner of the left sidewall circuit breaker panel. And in the vernier control Bonanza is the leftmost circuit breaker under the co-pilot side of the airplane, under the co-pilot's yoke. In either case, it's labeled landing gear motor circuit breaker. If the breaker has popped, treat it like any other popped circuit breaker in flight. Give it at least a minute to cool down. Attempt one reset and try the operation again. If the breaker pops a second time, leave it popped and you'll proceed with the manual landing gear extension procedure. What if the breaker has not popped, but the landing gear is for whatever reason hung up somewhere in mid-transit, or it hasn't gone at all? Should you cycle the landing gear? The conventional wisdom is, well, if it didn't go down, put the handle up and then try it again. In practice, however, the most common reason that a landing gear will hang up in mid-transit is a bent or warped landing gear push rod or a rod end that's about ready to snap off. And there's a lot of stress on the system at this point. That resistance to movement is what's prevented the landing gear from getting fully down. If you cycle the landing gear, if you put the handle up and then try to put it down again, that can and often has cause that rod to snap. It may be possible that hand cranking the gear down will get the landing gear the rest of the way down, but attempting to cycle the gear, which is the conventional wisdom, may actually make the situation far worse. So in my opinion, you should not attempt to cycle the landing gear. If it goes down but it won't go all of the way down, The next step is going to be to do the manual landing gear extension procedure. Because of the time limitation on YouTube recordings, I've split this program into 3 parts. There will be one question on the quiz from this first part.